off.
Perfect. Well, welcome everyone. Good morning to you all. Today we are going to be hosting our webinar, and the topic for today is Beyond the Buzz, how AI and smart website design are transforming the guest booking journey. Today, unfortunately, we've had one of our panelists fall ill. So you have Patrick and I for the discussion today. We will be bringing two different perspectives, mine from the hotelier side, both from the UK market as well as the Indian Ocean, and Patrick from the tech side of things with Profitroom. So, Patrick, maybe if you want to just quickly introduce yourself, and then I'll do the same.
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. Good morning, and great to be here. Of course, a shame that Shani couldn't join us. However, I'm confident between myself and Yogesh, we can give quite a bit of insight when it comes to hospitality tech background and where technology is really heading, particularly when it comes to AI and how it can be implemented nowadays across your hotels and your websites. My name is Patrick Lutz. I'm the UK Regional Director for Profitroom, and I look after strategic development and growth in the UK market. Since having entered the UK as a business almost 8 years ago now, we have successfully been able to collaborate with more and more hoteliers up and down the country. We do tailor, we focus, and we specialize in driving direct business success, minimizing overall cost of acquisition, and really being that e-commerce hotel partner and technology partner, most importantly, driving business profitability. So our core offering revolves around the booking engine solutions, but it goes and it's expanded much more so over the past few years with a lot of website digital marketing, revenue management services, and really that wider CRM element of being able to collate a central source of truth when it comes to your data and being able to be held accountable for your direct business performance. So that's a very small snapshot in terms of what we do with Profitroom in the UK and globally, as a matter of fact.
Thanks, Patrick. And my name's Yogesh. I am a committee member on the HMA, and I bring the hotelier perspective all the way from kind of budget properties right the way across to kind of luxury city properties as well as the resort side. My current role is as a marketing director at Candima Maldives. I was previously the head of marketing at the Athenaeum Hotel and Residences, hence the HMA connection into London and the UK. So my experience really from that hotelier perspective is across the spectrum of sort of marketing and commercial too. So I've been working quite heavily on using smart technology to really understand about the guest, understand the booking journey, really to drive more bookings, not only for the direct channel, but right the way across your sales channels. And I've been quite involved in the technology side, whether that's building technology or whether that is sort of using the brand side of things. And so, I bring that hotelier perspective with Patrick's kind of tech side of things. Just some housekeeping then before we kick in. So we do have a Q&A Zoom chat going on. So if you do have any questions, please do drop your questions in the Q&A Zoom chat. And this webinar is recorded today, and we will be sharing that recording as well as sharing the slides from today as well, which Patrick is sharing. So Patrick, just jumping straight in then, let's start with the kind of first theme for today, and that's the kind of changing guest journey and how it's evolving. So what do you really see that's changed in how guests interact with hotel websites today?
I mean, if I'm honest, it's not even just looking at hotels, it's looking at the world globally, myself. One thing, guys, I wanted to add just quickly as well, with Yogesh mentioning the questions and the Q&A chat. I tell my team very much so I like it to be a very messy meeting, very messy discussion where we can really get a lot of insight, conversations, and discussions going. I know quite a few of the attendees that have joined us today because we can see the list here. So please do ask as many questions as you want, as you can, because we do want to be really insightful and make it as useful, most importantly, for yourselves, as this is why we are really hosting this conversation today. And going back in terms of the kind of interaction of hotel websites, it goes more to the consumer interface and the consumer behavior really that we see globally nowadays. It goes back to that question of Why do we use Netflix today, and why don't we use Amazon Prime as much as prominently as we would do, really? And the reason, and that being said, it all goes down to the technology, personalization, and digital trust. That user interface, that UX experience, and the content you're able to showcase within your website, we see it plays a significant element in terms of the competitiveness of your website, the insights, and how guests really perceive your brand whilst they look and contemplate on making that reservation. It's a well-known fact. It takes usually 17 touch points. Some statistics analysis shows as much as 19 touch points really that a consumer undertakes with your brand between making that experiential offering, looking at what your offering is, and actually confirming that business. So there's those 17 to 19 touch points really that we get as a hotelier, the opportunity to confirm that guest from a looker into a booker. And we've seen that augmented change more so now than ever. So we're in a brink of technology where we're shifting the paradigm of how business is done online, how e-commerce drives revenue for hoteliers. So it goes much more into that in-depth analysis of how consumers really behave online. And that digital trust is a key part. And that's why as a business, we call it that digital Darwinism moment within the UK hospitality and global hospitality trade, where we're in the forefront of this paradigm shift.
And Patrick, so kind of, in our discussion previously, we were looking at where hotels are potentially losing bookings today without realizing it. I mean, where do you guys see that happening?
It's multiple things, right? It's that element of essential digital trust. UX experience, for instance, with Profitroom, anything we do, whether it's building that website from the start and the get-go. As a matter of fact, nowadays, AI, yes, you can build a website with the use of AI, right? Every single landing page could be tailored and built with an AI function and automatically built. However, is that more of a gimmick at the moment? Unfortunately, I still feel that is the case. I don't know one UK hotel's website that was fully built with AI in the sense of it was fully automated. Build me this brand website because it's not really there, right? We've got the element of content and being able to personalize and create content, whether it's translations, specific content with the use of AI or imagery more so, even this presentation as a matter of fact. But it's being able to really utilize the power of AI in terms of personalizing that guest user experience to build trust with your guests from the first moment that they enter your website. In the UK, there's that big, strong UK advantage. As an industry, as a business, as a country, really, as a matter of fact, we've often been leading the way when it comes to paradigm shifts and changes. So even with the use of AI and technology nowadays, we as Profitroom, we have more than 4,000 hotels that we work with globally. And that's doubled in the past 3 to 4 years, as a matter of fact. And we see the difference and the distinction between the UK, how it acts as an industry in comparison to other, let's say, Southern European nations where we're very prominent and very present as well. And I have to say on the positive side towards the UK, we are very much more so proactive to the utilization of technology and really looking at data where we may be losing to the conversions, where we might be losing revenue for hoteliers and for guests. And really when I'm thinking of losing that revenue, it goes back across the overall touch points and the entire guest user journey and the guest journey from start to finish. And really bringing it back to where this webinar really originated as an idea is looking where human interaction comes in place and where does the AI and the technologic side point of view comes in. And we see it within Profitroom is those AI touch points really within that or that pink field where we can add that value and where we can look at AI and technology really automating and streamlining that overall guest user experience to drive more revenue and making sure that balance between human interaction and technology is key to driving that success. So for instance, from the start of a guest planning a visit to making that ultimate decision and making that purchase, this is where that big difference and fundamental change is currently happening within the market. So this is where many hotels win or lose, as a matter of fact, when it comes to looking at that experiential-led offering when it comes to revenue. The key difference between that is, as a matter of fact, is how technology can come and play, not to take away the human element, actually. It's to make sure that our teams, our reception staff, our reservations team, and our front of house team across all areas of our business actually have the ability and have the capacity to look at the overall experience in house. And I think that goes from the start, from the get go. When you're looking at the website, is how can you portray emotions, how you can portray that experience so your staff can deliver that on the day.
Mhm. And I think brand identity is really key to that as well, right? To deliver that emotional connection to the brand, to make sure that the guest is your user profile that you're trying to attract. One point that I would make, Patrick, from kind of the hotelier perspective on losing potential bookings is that hoteliers sometimes are afraid to really compete directly with the likes of Booking.com and other OTAs. So we try to stay, in most cases, in parity. We're not going out of parity. And there's tips and tricks and ways where you can really compete and pinch business away from OTAs. And we'll come on to that. And I've got a live example that I can share later on. But we also have to bear in mind that hotel websites, like you said, they can't just be built straightforward with an AI tool because they're a lot more complex than what a simple e-commerce website would be. So we have, you might have an F&B outlet, you might have a spa outlet, you'll obviously have rooms and other outlets within the actual hotel setup. So guests aren't just coming to purchase one thing. They might be purchasing multiple things, or they might not even be purchasing what's the core of your business, as in the rooms. They might just be coming for an afternoon tea experience. And so we have to make sure that the user journey, right the way across the web experience, is tailored for those specific profiles. And you have to be able to know who those guest profiles are and how you're going to feed them through that journey. Patrick.
Yeah, 100%. There's a few points there, Yogesh, you mentioned, which actually I'm quite keen to digest, as a matter of fact, because one thing you mentioned about the OTAs and the rate parity issues and whatnot, and yeah, it goes down to loyalty, for instance, and how can loyalty encourage direct guests, and how can independent hotels take the power of the meta search, take the power that the big brands have, for instance, and share their loyalty members offering across meta search channels without going against your rate parity issues. Because we all know that OTAs like Booking.com and Expedia and whatnot will bid against you in your OTA profiling if you're not within your rate parity. Cool. They're not going to cut you off. They're not going to, but what they're going to do is, from an algorithm point of view, they'll position you down and lower within their rankings on their platform. It might not be a given fact and it might not impact you straight away, but as a hotelier, you only have the power to do so if you're independent and you've got the power to control your distribution channels and you've got that strong sense of direct business is first and it's key to your success. So, when it comes to, we've been through that shift, as a matter of fact, since the early 2000s, right? When it was always desktop, www. World Wide Web was the first point of view, and it was all on desktop. Right now, it's very much so. More than 73% of bookings begin on mobile device. However, only around less than 25% of hotel websites are fully optimized for mobiles. So how can a hotel guest make sure they're fully optimized for mobile right now more than ever? Where still, I would argue, this is fundamental and key to the success to make sure you're fully optimized on mobile. But how are we going to be optimized for AI first approach? Because AI is coming in, and with Google's AI mode in the beginning of earlier in the year, it's shifted the paradigm of how traffic is generated across the industry. The hoteliers that are performing are the ones that are looking at AI first. They're the ones that are ahead of the curve. And even ourselves as a business, as a matter of fact, as Profitroom, we have received 3 hotel clients this year from AI generated content. So there's a few points there that Yogesh, you mentioned, and I think it's key to success for hoteliers because, yeah, that build of AI website might not be there yet, but actually how you generate traffic through the use of AI and whatnot, and how that works for your rate parity and your wider distribution is key and fundamental. And yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say actually, we can go a little bit deeper into AI practice. I just wanted to add a point here to kind of talk about relevancy as well, right? So, I talked about those guest profiles who you're trying to target or the personas that you're looking at, but also you've got to be realistic and you've got to understand the market that you operate in. So I've been lucky enough to see the difference between a luxury five-star London city centre property versus an island resort and the differences in the user behavior across them, but also actually similarities. And one thing that I'm noticing is that booking windows are shortening, whether it's a city centre hotel or an island resort, and especially the island resort. That really shocked me that we were ahead on pace over last year, but actually seeing a significant number of bookings coming in last minute. And you would think, wow, a long haul flight, a 7 to 10 night stay or a 14-night stay, that people would be literally booking this in advance. But those insights and those dynamics you kind of need to understand so that you then are doing the right kind of promotional tactics to then target those guests. And then whatever you do with your user experience on your website becomes super relevant, because if you know that there's last minute bookings picking up, your pop-ups, your user journey, all of that is tailored towards those last minute bookings, particularly from specific geolocations. So with a lot of pop-ups nowadays, what you can do is you can target a specific geolocation and only show the pop-up to that location. You can also, what I was able to do at the Athenaeum was that we had a geo IP plugin. And so we could show a landing page or subsections of a landing page only to a geo-targeted audience, knowing that we were targeting them based on a promotion or based on behavioral activity. And so there's things like this that you can do to then really tailor the guest journey and drive them into your booking engine so that you convert them better. And that's where AI
And you look there.
is relevant.
Yeah, AI, but then there's an element where AI can automate some of those processes, but also it's looking at how, as a strategic uh, uh, approach for hoteliers in the UK, we know that when it comes to revenue, most of the majority of our revenue will be coming from domestic markets, predominantly when it comes to UK. Some of the business will be coming, depending on your location, from the US. Some might be coming from France, and smaller kind of European markets, and being able to strategically position your rates, your intent of purchase. That's how being able to plug that into your website, but into your booking engine, is key for conversion, right? So as a business, as a matter of fact, as well at Profitroom, uh, actually even more so now with Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals, where you're able to tailor your Black Friday and promotions depending on those locations. To right now is a great time where your voucher sales, your advanced purchase windows can be extended if you can get those tailored offers depending on the region that a particular booker might be coming. So yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And all that comes down to abandoned search. E-commerce practices have been there for years. It's so frustrating to go and visit quite a few hotels, really, where you've searched multiple times a particular search criteria, search date for different particular room type, and then every time you revisit the website, every time you re-enter that booking journey, you need to start that from scratch. It's frustrating because 89% of the guests, of the online visitors, were actually abandoning the booking process based on a slow or confusing booking flow. So it's key to make sure it's very tailored to the segment that you're targeting. 100%.
And this is where AI chatbots can be super helpful as well, because what I've seen in multiple properties now is when we implement an AI chatbot, and actually um, in five-star properties, we're a little bit more reluctant to add a chatbot because we think that the service should be super relevant and super tailored. But AI chatbots have helped to recover bookings that potentially might have been lost because guests have been frustrated with the user experience. So I've seen firsthand that these chatbots can be super relevant. The only thing I would say about them is that you have to make sure that you stay on top of the Q&As, because if the chatbot can't answer a question, the user gets frustrated and then you will have significant dropouts. If that is optimized, you will have a significant increase in your direct bookings, because guests just want to go in and just make that booking, and it has to be relevant to the type of user profile that you're looking at, right, and where they are in the booking journey, if they're at the bottom of the funnel or if they're midway through the funnel looking for content. But they can really help. One of the things that I've been testing at the moment is that it's not just a guest that's going to be coming to your hotel website. It's going to be also an AI bot as well. So you need to make sure that the content that you have on your website particularly around your blog content, the inspirational content. It needs to be written and tailored for AI bots that are going to be looking for that content. So something that's really super relevant at the moment is that we're we're trying to see how we can appear in AI search and how we can use those that generative search to drive links back to the hotel website. So digital PR is a really key factor in this. And so, the work that you do with your PR agency should be really tailored, massively tailored towards the personas that you're targeting, the relevant marketing strategy that you have in place, and how you're positioning content across your website. And so when you create that content, one of the things that we're testing at the moment is to use Q&A as a way to generate content. So just question and answers, and then write that in a way that is inspirational too for an actual human, but also relevant to a chatbot. One of the ways to track that is to also look at the traffic coming from ChatGPT, for example, into your Google Analytics. That's an evolving topic at the moment, but I'm hoping to see better ways to track how AI is driving links back to your direct website.
And you mentioned PR. As a matter of fact, we've got quite a strong presence in a few clusters around the UK. If I look at, for instance, Cornwall, for instance, and looking at particularly the southwest, there's quite a good saturation of spa hotels with spa properties, and you're looking at having that spa break or whatnot. And the difference really when we see from a generally speaking, you'd say generative engine optimization is good when you have good SEO. But since the launch of ChatGPT version 5.1 and 5 really in the mid of August, we've run quite a strong analysis of individual hotel websites. And I would encourage every hotelier to do that if you haven't done it since really end of the summer over the past couple of months, because what you can do is actually look at optimizing and tailoring your entire website and your user experience on the website based on what that chatbot can read on that website. And now it will generate a full page report of multiple pages of what recommendations you could do as a business. One other things is that Q&A interface where it's question and answer, question and answer. This is where chatbots right now, many hotels will have an AI chatbot already plugged in. As a matter of fact, that's what we launched early on in this year as a business. And is being able to plug this in between that AI interface and the traditional interface. So I can't share too much today because we have a big launch in the beginning of next year, as a matter of fact. And a key element of how AI is really revolutionizing the way, one, at the moment is traffic being generated. Another thing is how you can work on content right now, yes. But another element is how you actually go through that process of making that reservation. It's looking at that hybrid interface of incorporating an AI module, that human element of interface. So how is it? You can see on the screen right now that I'm sharing is where there's that generic experience where, if I can get that information, because guests do expect you to know information about them even prior to making that reservation. Because as a matter of fact, with consent for now, it's still there. What's going to happen with that? That's a different element. But looking at how we can personalize that experience based on information and content that we can gain from the guests whilst on the website is key. And that ultra and hyper personalization of a booking experience is vital of how AI chatbots can do that. So Profitroom actually, we were quite late to the party when it comes to AI chatbots. There's quite a few providers there that have been doing that for a bit of time. But as a matter of fact, looking at how we've incorporated from a booking engine point of view, I can confidently say we're the first AI natively embedded booking engine provider with an AI chatbot within that process. And what that enables us is being able to hyper personalize that entire guest user flow, starting from a room type, being able to personalize it based on the guests that are visiting, whether there's children, whether you want additional experiences. I was at the Hotspace conference last week, 2 weeks ago now, and one of the key elements that we see across the hotel is the UK is how spa revenue, golf revenue, and generally leisure revenue is one growing year on year, substantially double-digit growths. And this is where that auxiliary spend and personalization of that guest user experience from the first moment is key to driving that revenue, as opposed to holistic, generic experience where there is no personalization within that entire process.
So, Patrick, what we talked to earlier, and we were sort of looking at the kind of common elements and the best practices. What do you guys see that's actually performing well on hotel websites today?
Well, in terms of performing well on hotels' websites, is the ability to be able to personalize and have a segmentation, clear segment of who your target audience is. If you don't know who your target audience is, you're pretty much, trying to fish a shark within the middle of the sea with a rod, and you're really losing the entire game. But it's making sure you're very tailored and personalized. So that is one of those things where with the likes of Profitroom, for instance, one key element of when we build the website and when we look at creating the entire guest user flow is looking how can you connect that website to an intent of purchase and finalize that booking confirmation. So we've enabled an element of being able to limit your clicks, your total clicks to book in to as little as 5 clicks. Sometimes you see providers there where there's 21, 22 clicks before you can, from the start of from initiating an interest to making a reservation to finalizing it. We've been able to cut it down to as little as 5 clicks, and I think that plays a vital part with that. And with the big launch that we're having in the new year, we're going to be able to limit that to as little as 2 clicks. This is following the footsteps of what you've seen in the airline industry, right? BA has introduced a 3-click checkout, I think, earlier, or there's a 1-click checkout. Amazon's got a 1-click checkout, and BA's got, I think, a 2-click checkout that they'd introduced as well. So it's looking at what the airline industry, what retail and e-commerce has been doing for years, and how minimizing the number of clicks and having a website that is fully connected and integrated with your booking engine. Right now, what we see between digital companies, digital businesses, and booking engine providers is cool. Let me change my content on my booking engine. Cool. Let me change my content on my website. But actually, that creates a very disjointed ecosystem. So having a key central data point of being able to run your campaigns centrally within a central unified e-commerce offering really maximize those conversions because it's all a statistical game. Changing your interactions from 17, 19 touch points with a consumer to 16, 15, that will drive revenue. And that is something that we've seen has played a vital part in terms of the success of hotel websites. Personalizing it with content when it comes to AI, you can see here, for instance, this should be the norm. It's not the norm. And this is something that when it comes to extras, right? We mentioned about spa offering, golf offering, and extras is that auxiliary spend. TrefPar, particularly now within your budget, even though as much as yesterday there was some sort of entertainment to resolve the issues of the hospitality industry, that's just the top line. We need to really look at how, as an industry, we can maximize that spend across extras, whether it's utilizing it for AI to personalize those extras, or as well, some of the slides, actually, as a matter of fact, today also generated with AI, and same. So you can see some of those practices of how that has driven results, how you can ensure there is commentary, information, and data across all areas of your booking flow, from the website to the booking engine, because very often when we go as a business to analyze our hotels partners that we're not working with at the moment, is how many of those websites are broken down. There's dead ends, and there is no really incentive to make sure there's always a call to action, and that is a key, very quick win to make sure conversion is there.
So thanks for that, Patrick. I think there's a question that's come in, so I'll slow it down a bit and maybe we'll tackle this question, which I think is quite relevant to what we've just talked about.
Course.
So with so many touch points, are brand identity and awareness even more important than ever, or are other influencing factors more important? So I think we've talked a lot about kind of conversion rate optimization, user experience, CX. Taking it all the way back, I think this question is really super relevant. And why is it relevant? Well, because the hotel website is this sort of window into the brand, into what the hotel experience will essentially offer this guest. If you look at OTA websites, for example, booking.com and others, they're actually quite ugly if you think about them. They've been optimized and optimized and optimized to convert. What we have the advantage from a hotel side is we have the advantage to display more content, video content, relevant packages, offers, promotions in the way that we see that's right for our brand. So this question is super relevant because when the guest lands on the website, they should feel what they're going to feel when they actually are in the bricks and mortar side of things of the business. They should feel what the experience is going to be, and they should want to be able to let's say, convert straight away because they know what they're going to get. And so one thing that I'm trying to do, for example, with Candima, is that there's a perception of the Maldives that is a honeymoon destination. So the Blue Lagoon, people will be sitting on the sun lounges all day, sipping pina coladas. And actually, Candima Maldives is an active lifestyle destination, and it's the first one in the Maldives. Now there are a few more. So my challenge is to really get people to see that there's more to the island than just the honeymoon destination. It's a 3 kilometer island with a go-kart track on one side and a beach club on the other, and everything else in between, like a bowling alley and 10 different F&B outlets. And so my website is my window to be able to showcase that experience because yes, a search might originate from booking.com for the Maldives, and then guests will then filter down into 5 or 6 different options because OTAs can act like search engines. But when that guest lands on my website, they should feel the emotion of being there on the island. So the putting across the brand identity and making the guest aware of what that experience will be is super, super relevant here.
I think
And
you've hit the bullseye there, Yogesh.
yeah,
When it comes to that brand identity, the question is great, and I think that's a differentiation and distinction of hotels that will perform well, particularly now with the AI search engine optimization and AI search engine contents. Because the hotels that have a clear brand identity, the ones that are able to portray their emotions online through e-commerce platforms, are the ones that will perform well. When we look at analysis of the share of voice, for instance, and intent of AI search engines within a particular area, for instance, in the UK, it will be very much golf related, let's say, or very much spa related. You can see that positive intent across AI and chatbots are the ones that have played a big part in making sure they can portray those emotions and that experience online. And that is the difference between the ones that perform well or bad. Actually, great slide that we have this at the moment. And that's the difference between OTAs, where on booking.com, you pretty much book a room, right? With no actual value. It's all about making sure it's the cheapest offering, actually. And that's where we should be going away from using that as a channel to get additional traffic onto your website, but actually on that website to portray the true emotions. So being able to personalize that online booking experience and expect real-time experience availability. So what we've done at Profitroom is being able to look at the entire guest user flow, where if you're looking to stay at a property, you're not looking, that's where you change it from just being 4 walls in a bed to an experience of staying over at the hotel, but also relishing a bottle of Prosecco whilst you enter the room and you come to the hotel, going into the spa facilities and pampering yourself with a 60-minute back scrub, and then ending up with an afternoon tea and a dinner in the restaurant. And you're able to personalize that entire guest user experience yourself with our ongoing kind of generational change where more and more people are digital native. They expect that instant availability and real-time experience availability where they can personalize their spa treatment, their table booking, their golf experience. And this is a key element of where Profitroom has been looking at making sure we can create that single e-commerce unified profile to tailor that online guest booking experience and remember post-booking what their preference were. So that's what's the next step, I think, where remembering that post-booking experience, where we're able to create a hybrid interface of what you have had and what you're looking to have. Because yes, once you might be a corporate booker, but next time you might be visiting with your family. So it's stuff that hotels need to take into account. And one of the questions here I see, we're looking at what platforms AI search tools are being used. I could tell you from our point of view what AI search tools we use at Profitroom. It's not one search tool that's on the back of it. Actually, it's incorporated across multiple search tools, whether it's ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, Clock. The best tools that are actually working together from an AI generated approach and search tools is the ones that can bring a few of them together. And that's where, from an AI generated content on your website, you can have the most tailored and concrete answers without the element of hallucinations where actually it's completely offboard and it's not relevant. And then it loses that guest user experience and plays negatively to actually that performance on the website with it. Yogesh, I'm not sure I can see you there, but there we are.
back again. Yeah, just to add to that, I mean, you mentioned kind of using AI tools in the way that you work as well. But I use ChatGPT quite significantly now. But I would caveat that with that it does come with its mistakes. So the way I use ChatGPT is to break down a particular project or a task that I have. Let's say, you mentioned sort of auditing the website or kind of auditing various sections of a project that you might be working on. I would break it down rather than going all in with a big prompt and saying audit my whole website. I would then go in and say audit a specific page, but you have to give it relevant context and you have to build up that context over time. So ChatGPT is super, super relevant. I found it helping me quite a lot, but I would say just very much like break it down to very small tasks, and then you will get really good content. It's definitely helped me put things together in the strategy for this year as well.
I had a chat about this last week with somebody as well internally, actually within Profitroom, where often you'll get those AI search tools pretty much acting like a drunk high school person or a drunk university college student. What I mean and what that person meant actually on the back of it is there's a lot of confidence in how that search engine result is portrayed, where this is the answer and it's given as a fact, as a matter of fact, and that's why actually the traffic that is generated from AI search tools usually converts at a higher proportion what we've seen in comparison to people just visiting a website because of the confidence of, yes, if you ask for a particular property, this is the property I recommend. There's a strong element of trust and confidence. But what we actually need to look at as consumers and as guests is actually looking at the source of those files, because when you review the website or when you ask a particular prompt, which might be huge, it comes across with a great level of confidence. This is what is the truth. This is what happens. But on the back of it, when you actually, on a personal level, how you reference that and what's come, where that answer has originated from, there's actually not much backbone to it. There's not much reference to it, and it's literally come across a very solid answer with not much context on the back of it. So there's a key as consumers. What we need to do is making sure when we create those prompts to those AI search tools, it's very much backed on the back of it, and it's supported by some evidence. And you see it that when you do portray that evidence, you have a strong element of understanding where it's originated from. And as a matter of fact, because of those sources that AI chatbots pick up, that's why PR is key, and the PR content that we put out there, these are those sources those AI search tools pick up from, not just your website. That is one thing of how you tailor that, but actually a lot of the boutique news, boutique hotelier, the Daily Mail, like whatever sources it can find to a particular question, this is where a lot of that content will be being picked up on from these AI search tools, and this is often the hotels that are being brought forward to that.
Yeah, I think that's super relevant. I mean, PR now, digital PR now is so important to your let's say your SEO or your web strategy, because those signals coming from, Condé Nast or whoever you are, whoever your content is seeded with, that is going to be a really strong signal into the generative search to drive traffic to your website or to make sure the content gets placed into that search, into that generative chat. And the content that you create also on your website, the way that you structure that is also going to be super relevant. So this is something to watch out for and keep an eye on. It's something that is evolving as technology is evolving, as the hospitality industry is evolving. So it's something I'm testing at the moment, and hopefully on later panels I'll be able to share more and share what I've learned so far. But it's super, super relevant at the moment. And Patrick, just on that note, then, as we wrap things up, one of the questions that's come in is that what are some of the key takeaways that people could use today and literally go in and implement into their roles?
I think one thing is looking at consolidating tech into a guest centric unified e-commerce platform, because data. I mean, to be fair, talking about data, Yogesh, last year you won at Hospace. Was it Hospace? I think that you won the award for the Dataneum project at the Athenaeum, right? I think data is key. Cash is king, but data is key. And we can only really look at making knowledgeable decisions based on the data that we're able to generate across the entire guest funnel. So being able to really look at a consolidated e-commerce tech stack. And what I mean by consolidated is making sure that the tech solutions that you have and the providers that you really look at from start to finish are ones that speak to each other, and you do not lose any of that data, because now more than ever, and even more importantly, so next year's and the years to come, the data that we are able to generate from every single touch point with our guests is going to be key to our success for hotels. Second is investing into that UX interface, that digital storytelling, and building those emotions from your website to the end of the booking journey. And I don't mean by the end of the booking journey whilst you book that guest booking and book the room and the experience. It's actually, how do you communicate? How do you create an entire story, a compelling story and an experiential offering from the first moment till the moment you arrive in the hotel? How do you manage that whilst you're in the hotel, but through a virtual concierge, and being able to incorporate Booking.com and Expedia have done that, where they've incorporated an AI planner into the guest's stay. Where why hotels wouldn't be able to really incorporate a similar offering where you're in the house, in the property, and tailor your stay based on recommendations and criteria that you have prompted that AI search engine, but also post it, because loyalty is key. One thing we've seen is 87.6% of guests that book through a Profitroom tool book through a loyalty platform when we've incorporated that loyalty platform. Because looking at loyalty, it's two ways. One is making sure it acts as a tool to bring in revenue and an acquisition tool, but one to make sure it acts as a retaining tool. So it's not about using loyalty to discount rates, but it's actually to showcase that added value and encourage new business acquisition and repeat guests. So it's, yeah, I would say those three key things between UX, storytelling, emotions, consolidating guest-centric data to make sure you have your data intact, and making sure you look at incorporating loyalty for two revenue streams: acquisition and new business acquisition to drive TrevPart, but also retaining, which is key for future success as well.
I do believe we're running out of time, but I'll just end on 2 points. Patrick, just to reiterate what you were saying there, data is going to be key. Insights about understanding who your guests are, what their booking behaviors are, and what their booking patterns are. That's going to be key in order to target the guests in the right way. One of the things that I'd say to take away from today is just like this. There's lots of conversations going on. Reach out to industry colleagues. It's not always easy to test and implement new AI technology into our roles, but there probably is somebody out there, another colleague that's doing it. Or you go on that journey together and share your learning. So I would always say reach out and speak to people and see what they're doing and see what they're up to and see what you can implement. And one of the questions that came in, and this is kind of a starting point really on how you can use AI on your hotel website. But the question was, is it a good or a bad thing to get AI to write the copy of your website? I'll add my experience here is that when I first started using ChatGPT, it was literally for the copy for the website. Where it helps is when you're struggling for ideas and you need to kind of put some thoughts together, you can just throw a bunch of points into ChatGPT and it will start to generate things for you. It won't be super relevant to your website and it might not be on brand. And that's our job as marketeers, to go in, change that tone of voice, change the language, but it kind of eliminates that writer's block and it gets you started. So don't be afraid to just jump in and use ChatGPT or other AI tools to just get you started on that journey, because it's a good way to get going.
And generating content is definitely the key part, where it's been there for some time now, right? And I think it's only going to improve, and as it has been improving substantially over the past few months, that's for sure. But guys, I'm conscious of time. Just so everybody knows, we will be sharing the slides as well So they will be shared with the HMAs and across everyone, all of our attendees, because there is a few slides still that we hadn't gone through. There is quite a bit of insight between myself and Yogesh. We're very happy for anyone to reach out to us where we can support. I do feel, that's a special part within the hospitality industry. It is a closed network, and having those discussions is key to our success as well moving forward.
Yeah, do reach out, do connect with us on LinkedIn. Happy to have these calls and talk more.
Amazing. Guys, thank you very much to everyone attending. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop us a message. We will be more than happy to do so. It's been great to have everyone around and have a fantastic rest of the day.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.